Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. It is your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details. Today, we're discussing the Patek Philippe 5270G-019, 41 millimeters in white gold with sunburst blue dial. This is a variant that was debuted back in 2015 at Basel World, an evolution of the Perpetual Calendar Chronograph that first bowed in 2011. So the watch is 41 millimeters in diameter. It's 12.9 millimeters thick. It's 49.6 millimeters from lug tip to lug tip, and it has a 21 millimeter spacing between the lugs. I'll throw the watch on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters circumference, and it's surprisingly large for a Patek Philippe dress watch. So you're going to want a wrist of at least 15 centimeters circumference to wear this watch well. You can see my 16 centimeters circumference wrist isn't at the limit. We've got some clearance on each side, but not much. It is, however, flat, and with a concave bezel and a stepped case flank, it will slide underneath the cuff as a dress watch should. The strap is a combination of medium rectangular scale alligator leather and large rectangular scale. It's a matte finish. It's a little bit lighter than navy blue. It nicely matches the metallic sunburst blue of the dial. There's a bit of bolstering or stuffing down the center to give it some volume. It has a monotone blue stitch and a sheer cut side showing the layers of leather. On the bottom, it's calfskin. You can see it's a brand new Patek Philippe strap. It has the pull tab spring bars that Patek uses these days, so you can remove the strap from the case without a tool. And then we have a single fold matching white gold deploying clasp. So you can see internally it's all polished, and it has that Calatrava cross logo of the manufacturer externally. The buckle and the case are made of what's known as gray gold, which is an 18-karat white gold alloy that is white all the way through and never needs to be rhodium plated. It's the good stuff. It's what Rolex and JLC, for example, use. Now, the case is surprisingly nuanced. You can see a combination of fluting and stepping to the lug profile. The bezel is concave, ever so slightly concave. It's also stepped in from the case band to create the perception of a thinner watch. It's got a quick vertical lip that transitions into the concave profile that transitions into a flange that abuts the sapphire. So there's a lot of complexity here, and Patek Philippe makes its own cases. It's been expanding its case-making capabilities since 1981, and it's gotten to the point now where it can create a remarkably complex shape. You can even see how the lugs ride up over the case band and abut directly against the bezel. We have pushers that are satinated on their tops and their bottoms, but they're actually polished on their flanks for nice detail. We have that Calatrava cross on the crown. The crown has a nice satisfying knurling. And in case you're wondering, yes, it's a pleasure to wind. There have been several different versions of this dial. Back in 2011, when the model bowed, it did not have a tachymeter. Then in 2013, it gained a tachymeter, but also gained a little bit of an overlap between the date and the tachymeter that a lot of folks called the chin. Well, the chin's not entirely gone, but its outline border is gone on this 2015-19 revision. So a lot of folks feel that this is the sweet spot and the ultimate resolution between the original design and the impulse to add a tachymeter for sportiness. Now, of course, the printing is all white on blue. We have a blue metallic sunburst dial. We have a different blue, a sort of matte blue with a texturing for the sub-registers. We have our constant seconds over at 9 o'clock. We have chronograph minutes over at 3 o'clock, and you'll see right now that it is an instantaneous jumping minute. There's a little bit of a rack with a pawl and wheel on the reverse side. That's the minute jumper right there. And we have leaf-style hands in white gold. We also have white gold, polished and faceted applique indices, including little miniature pyramid indices and stub indices at 9 and 3. It is a perpetual calendar, so you don't need to reset the calendar system until the year 2100, provided you keep it wound. Leap years, irregular length months, not a problem. The moon phase has a 122-year adjustment interval. We have a leap year phase indicator over between 5 o'clock and 4 o'clock, and then over between 7 and 8, we have a day-night indicator. I'll show you what that is. When you're looking at, by the way, take a look, hacking seconds. This watch does have hacking or stop seconds. And if you want to set the watch, you take a look at that little indicator that transitions from silver to blue. And once you get into the realm of the blue, you don't want to use the pusher adjusters on the case flank to set the calendar. If you have to set the calendar when you see blue, what you want to do is manually roll through the change, set the watch to 6:30 a.m. Now you're fine. Now you're in the clear. You don't want to set the thing between about 8 p.m. and 4 a.m. Now you're in the clear. You use the pusher adjusters to set the calendar, and then you turn to the correct time. Of course, it is a chronograph as well, with a wonderful column wheel that is world-class in feel and sound. It has a nice sharp report and click to it. You can see the operation of the lateral clutch, which includes a little golden chaton, 2 of them actually, for nostalgic purposes. This is a Geneva-style capped column wheel. As with most elements of finishing flourish, this has its roots in a functional requirement. The idea being that this black polished cap would prevent the horns of the various components from jumping out the top of the column wheel under the influence of shock. And what we've got here is manufactured caliber 29-535 Petit Second. It does have the column wheel, the lateral clutch, the instantaneous jumping minute. It has the hacking second. It has a manual wind 65-hour power reserve. It is adjusted in 6 positions, and it has a free-sprung Gyromax-style balance, a unique Patek Philippe invention from the early 1950s. That balance beats away at 28,800 vibrations per hour. It is a modern beat rate, much higher than the old 5970 and its 18,000 vibrations per hour. You can see that it includes a handmade overcoil hairspring, so that in any position, the hairspring has a much more centered mass than a flat hairspring, which means gravity doesn't cause it to run fast or slow the way it would with an imbalanced, that is lopsidedly imbalanced flat hairspring. The finish is world class, and it does feature the Patek Philippe seal. Not better than the Geneva hallmark, at least in its ultimate form, but I will say this, the finish that you get in the era of the Patek Philippe seal is far better than any series production Patek Philippe watch made prior to 2000. They really have raised their game, and while the Patek Philippe seal didn't specifically occasion that, it's just a rule of thumb that most new Patek watches launched in the 2000s and later were finished to a higher standard on the assumption that people would be looking at the movements. But here's the thing. Many watches that Patek made with display casebacks in the 80s and 90s weren't always intended for public view. They give you the solid gold screw-down caseback if you want to make the watch thinner, add to the precious metal content, and, in traditional modest fashion, obscure the view of the movement. Some people do want that, so Patek continues to offer that caseback as an accessory with the watch. Now, we have satination and polished beveling on the steel components of the chronograph, black polishing on the screw heads as well as on the cap of the column wheel. There's engine turning on the base plate. We have few bridges, but the ones that are there feature mirror beveling on their edge and Côte de Genève across their tops. You can see we have 2 different sizes of engine-turned perlage on the base plate. All of the screw heads feature chamfered slots and chamfered circumference, and the springs, when present, have been satinated across their top. All wheels have also been satinated, and this is 30 meters water-resistant. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details of this Patek Philippe Perpetual Calendar Chronograph.